Crystal, enough with the fucking singing. Okay, you're driving us nuts.
I wasn't singing, I was humming.
Cool. Fucking stop.
In 1996, a high school girls soccer team from Muskeg High School was on their way to nationals. Unfortunately, this flight was never destined to actually make it. The flight path had left the plane veering off course about 600 miles north, and everyone on that plane was presumed lost or dead. Survivors of the crash were out there for around 19 months, and upon their rescue, their numbers had dwindled a lot less than to those who had entered onto the plane that day. Who were the members of the Yellowjackets soccer team that got stranded out there in the wilderness? What was their story, and what was their role to play in the girls' survival out there? In this series of videos, I hope to break down each one of the Yellowjackets soccer team that has had a bit of a narrative element or enough context to piece together what their story could actually be. As well as, if their character is still around by the time of shooting this, I will be predicting where their character could go.
That being said, hello wilderness survivors, fellow Mudbeards, and Yellowjackets if you're watching. And we're officially starting off on my new series of videos hoping to break down each one of the Yellowjackets. I'm going to be trying to release these leading up to Season 3 finale, but there's a chance that it will actually go past that point. Either way, I'm really interested in diving into each one of these characters and kind of putting my own thoughts onto video form. But I'm sure there'll be many things I miss, so if you know any interesting facts or trivia about some of the characters or actors playing them, then feel free to let me know down in the comments. Either way, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it.
Oh, that's great.
Either way, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. And on today's video, we're going to be going ahead and talking about the character of Crystal. Crystal is played by an actor named Yellowjackets Eastman, and they do an absolutely fantastic job at capturing the same sort of quirkiness and weirdness that Samantha Henratty and Christina Ricci do with the character of Misty. The only difference being these are two very different types of weird. But the fact that they were so synchronized together and got along so well led a lot of people to believe that when this character was introduced, they were actually a figment of Misty's imagination. See, Misty's a character who definitely has had a lot of mental health issues and a lot of interesting suspicious behaviors throughout the first season of Yellowjackets. So when you introduce a seemingly brand new character that is a lot louder than they would have been in the first season and is super all about embracing Misty as a person, it really does make the audience question where this character was in season 1 and what this character is doing now. And the biggest question being if they're real. So to go right away and debunk this theory, Crystal is definitely a character who was physically present or a hallucination that all the girls shared at the same time. And by this I mean several other of the Yellowjackets had referenced and directly talked to Crystal or physically interacted with her. And if she was the result of some mass hallucination, I feel her visions would have tied into play during the final episode of season 2 when they were sort of starving of hunger and deciding to go on a hunt. Or I guess that was the penultimate episode. Either way. However, Crystal not being a physically fake person or hallucination doesn't negate her narrative impact on the story. See, Crystal's involvement was able to provide an outlet for Misty to prove that she does actually have people out there that she can confide into and be friendly with. But this is also a reminder that while this friendship may have blossomed in a normal societal structure, out in the wilderness where everyone's darkness is a little more present, Misty finds that she is unable to share her darkness as easily. This results in Misty getting very comfortable with Crystal up to the point where she reveals what she actually did with the transponder. Up until this point, even though their friendship has really been growing, there's been no serious conversations about the wilderness or their beliefs or if either of them really want to stay out there. However, during a conversation, it's brilliantly written to the point where Misty feels it's okay to kind of let out this dark secret. But Crystal reacts very hostilely to this information, as anybody would. Basically, Misty was the reason a lot of them stayed out there in the wilderness. And Misty, entering a fight or flight mode like her character normally does, goes ahead and tries to intimidate Crystal. Her goal presumably being for Crystal to keep her mouth shut and to hopefully not say anything. However, her mission worked out better than she thought because she accidentally pushed Crystal right off of the edge, not physically, but just through intimidation. This would mean the end of Crystal. Another Yellowjacket succumbed to the dangers of the wilderness. But an interesting aspect is Crystal is the one character and Yellowjacket who has yet to have an actual determined fate. Despite their lack of an on-screen presence in Season 3, her character was still mentioned and involved in the plot in very loose ways. And while she wasn't necessarily a part of the funeral at the Solstice event, she was mentioned in Van's opening story and during the trial of Coach Ben. See, after Misty had involuntarily caused Crystal to fall off the cliff, she eventually returned to go find her body, and it was nowhere to be found. There are a lot of guesses as to what could have happened to it. Perhaps an animal came by and decided to take it back to its lair. Perhaps the strange woman in the trees we keep hearing about found Crystal and decided to help her. Or maybe Crystal, being just as weird as Misty, happens to be just as capable, and there's a small chance that she did survive the fall and found a way to get herself somewhere for a little bit more safety. Now, the likelihood of this in a logical standpoint is really low, considering shortly after this there was a huge blizzard that locked them in their cabin for multiple days. But anything is possible in the wilderness, as we've seen so far. Crystal is a character whose mystery and potential return to the series really will determine if the supernatural does exist within the show or not, or if some of these mysteries in the show are worth anything, like the woman in the tree. It's very possible the writers will reveal that she happened to just die and get eaten by some animals just to prove that the girls really were just losing it out there. I'd consider that very unlikely, considering the fact that they did ignore her entire existence for Season 3. And especially considering it was a lot warmer during those times, you'd think that would be the time Misty would come across an accidental corpse. No, I think there's a huge chance that Crystal will come back into play, whether it be through being helped by this mysterious woman in the trees that Javi was referencing, or by actually finding her own way back to civilization and coming back in the series finale to provide rescue. Either way, Crystal's presence on screen was very much a joy to watch. Her wholesome behavior with Misty and her shy resilience to being treated so badly was really awesome to see. And I think the title of Misunderstood does fit her better than the title of Forgotten. See, every character within the show has come to a point where they misunderstood her, whether it be just treating her badly off rip, or assuming they can trust her and be friends with her like Misty. We as the audience even misunderstand her and her narrative importance in the story, and part of that could be for the lack of a narrative ending point for her arc, but I'd also like to think that her character was just so quirky and interesting that she's left a lasting impact within all of our minds. But what do you guys think? Where is Crystal? What exactly happened to her? And where can we see her story going in the future? I personally would be pretty disappointed if she turned out to just be eaten by an animal, but we'll see what the writers decide to do. Either way, appreciate your feedback, appreciate your support, and remember, it's not singing, it's humming.